Good morning and welcome to a new episode of today's Opening Bell, or how we call it in Romania, ZF Deschiderea De Astăzi. Today we are discussing with PETER DE BOER, board member and investor relation manager at the AGRAR Group. Peter, hi.
Hello, good morning. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you for being here, Peter. I know you have a busy schedule you had a busy schedule in the last couple of days, given the financial results and the budget for the company. And therefore, I would like to start with the financial results of the AGRAR Group. We've seen a weak last quarter in terms of profitability. What happened?
First of all, I think it starts with the high volatility we had throughout the whole year regarding the milk price. If you compare Q4 to Q1, we had a reduction of milk price of almost 40%. So that is a huge discrepancy. And next to that, we had also, although we had the growth in milk production, a lower growth on a lower pace. So on average throughout the year, we had almost 16% growth in the first 9 months. And in the last quarter, we had only a growth in milk production of almost 8%, 7.8%. That was mainly due to the fact that we had a lot of pregnant cows, and when the cows are pregnant and they are in the last stage of their pregnancy, they don't produce milk. But of course they still eat, so you have still the cost, and they go into the milk cost. And this can also be seen in January and February of this year, when we showed a significant increase in milk production, and that's mainly due. Of course, that we have more animals, but also due to the fact that we have so many cows at the moment who are calving, which can be seen in on the first month 2024. We have an increase in milk production of 19%. There are also some other reason. One is the thing that the AGRAR Group bought the 5% of shares from IM Advies last year. That's approx, and because of the consolidation, the profit is eliminated there from a group. It's approx 400,000 lei. Another thing is that we decided to invest in stables to move the animals from the Product farm. Now we have a special young stock farm where we raise our young cattle, but there we need to transport food, and also we need to pick up manure, etc. And there are quite some transport of extra costs, approx 200,000 euros, let's say 1 million lei on a yearly basis. So we invested last year in stables, in extra capacity at the Appold farm. And we succeeded to close the contract. We will close the contract at the beginning of this year because we rent that place. And for this, we needed to move those animals. And that has an effect of almost 3.8 million. In that case, you could say a negative effect. But this will help us from now on to better monitor, to have 24/7 vets around, and to have a stricter control of the quality of the raising of the cattle. So that had also quite an impact. To explain it is when a young stock eats, or an heifer eats, that goes, you register that food as a stock, later become as an asset. Because we needed to move those animals, they needed to be registered as cows at the Appold farm, but they don't produce yet milk. So they had quite an influence in the end of the milk cost, and in the end of the milk, the turnover for the milk. Another thing is the recalculation of the production cost, which had also a significant influence of almost 4.8 million lei. To explain this a little bit is that our production costs for crops, they are based on estimation. This is mainly due to the fact that the rent payments differ every year, because we, as the far majority of the land we lease, so of course we need to pay a rent, but it's not always in money. But many times our lessees, they choose, they want to have grain or corn or whatsoever, but they will take this decision very late in the year. And also many times they change their decision. That has mainly to do that they look at the market prices. Is the market price of a certain crop higher than what they would receive for the rent payment? They will choose to have the crop in natura, and the other way around. So that is really hard to estimate. Although we are also a little bit unhappy with the significant amount, let's say of 4.8 million. So we had already internal meetings, and from this year we will change some working procedures and policies inside our company to at least come closer to the reality. But our procedure was always to calculate this at the end of the year, because then you only have the exact figures regarding this. So I think that are the main, that are the main reasons that influence. But mainly this lower milk price, which can also be seen. We had almost the same turnover as 2022, but we increased our profit with almost 64%, and also we increased our profit margin with over 62% to 15%, which is a high profit margin for the agricultural sector.
From all these factors that you've mentioned, what are the chances that they can repeat themselves this year, or can we expect better margins? The factors that led to the net profit in the last quarter.
Yeah, no, the movement from the animals from Podlak to the uphold farm, that is a one-time issue, so that will not repeat itself again. The recalculations of production costs, this is what we do every year in the last quarter, so that will also be registered. As I said, we will change a little bit to try to come to a closer reality, or to have less differences. We will change in our internal policies regarding this. So for this year, I expect that we will come to a closer estimation. Another thing is a drying cost. Sometimes crops need to be dried, but that is something you don't know directly at the moment, or you don't know how much the drying cost will be, because that matters of the dry matter of a certain crop. So there the cost you only know afterwards. It's the same partially is this with the transportation costs. There are more variables, but we could, if we would improve, I think, some working procedures, we could come closer to reality. So the main thing is what is in every somehow which could affect every year some things in Q4 is the recalculation of the cost. But nevertheless, as I mentioned, in Q1 we had a almost 40% lower milk price. That is by the end the main issue. And we had another thing is not consumed food of 700,000 lei, which had also a negative effect, but that will be an income this year when the food will be consumed. So that is okay. Yeah, that is more depends on which time you look to the figures. Let's say which effect it has.
Let's see about the milk prices. What scenarios do you have for this year?
We made in our strategy till 2020, end of 2027, 4 scenarios. They can be found also in the report. Currently, we are more or less on scenario 3. Also, we expect by the end of 2027 to be on scenario 2 or 3. This year, at the moment, our milk price is on the average price that we had in 2023. And we expect mainly a stable milk price. It's somehow good, at least it gives predictability, because that was, of course, we had a great Q1 last year, but from there on, only the milk price dropped. Luckily, it increased quite significant compared to Q4. Also, the discussions that we have with the milk processors, etc., they expect more or less a stable milk price, maybe in autumn a slight increase, what could be, but more or less we expect to have, at least also our budget is based on the average milk price that we received last year. And we are confident if nothing happens in the world, but it's always hard to predict, because if a new war starts or whatsoever, things will change. But we are confident, and that can also be seen in the budget that we propose, that we will have almost a profit by the end of the year of 30 million.
I've seen the numbers, and there are some great figures there regarding the Straja investment. But until then, Peter, with what average price per liter for milk did it exit the gates of DN Agrar last year?
That is something I'm not allowed to share. We have confidentiality clauses in all our contracts. What I can say about our milk price in general is that it is based on the average of 6 Northwestern European countries, and actually that we get a bonus. So we are able to negotiate a competitive price. And that follows the market trend. One thing we get many ask, or I get many times ask, is somehow people see that we have a huge dependency on 1 or 2 suppliers or clients. But our milk price is connected. It's not a fixed price. It follows the market trend. So with these kind of things, we try to eliminate the risk that you have too much dependency. What I can say is, so yeah, that is more or less about the milk price. I'm sorry, but I can't really share more about this.
Can you share the investments plan for this year and Straja?
Yes, the Straja project is underway. We just approved in a special EGMS the financing by Exim Bank by 9.2 million euros. From those 9.2 million, 2.5 million euros are for animals, which we raise ourselves. So that will be a movement or a transaction inside our company. And currently we are constructing the first stables and the first milking piler. We expect in September to milk there the first 600 cows. So they will also deliver a contribution this year in our turnover and net profit. And by the end of the year, we will milk there approx 900 dairy cows. All those animals we have already in our farms, mainly in the Proot-Lak farm and in the Appold farm, and they will sell those animals to the Straja farm. So to that degree, the money remains in the company. Then next year we expect to have approx 1,600 to 1,700 cows there to milk, and at the end of the year after, end of 2026, the farm should be more or less fully operational.
9.2 million euros for a loan for this farm. Why not a bond issue?
So far, the bond issue is not really part of our strategy, but the main reason was that we had a large exposure to ING, which really helped us sustain our rapid growth. But one negative aspect on the loan was that also all the shares of IM Advies were pledged. So it really limited us to do a capital increase on the stock market or these kind of things, or to have more financing options. So that's one of the reasons we splitted our exposure between Exim and ING. It's now almost 50-50, as well as the exposure was so high that if we needed extra financing for Straja, that was anyway impossible to further increase our exposure to or our leverage to ING. So that were the two main reasons. And now we have more financing options, and in the future that could be bonds, but also I think more of where we will look more into is a capital increase. I think that would be a next step to sustain further growth. It's not something we plan to do normally, I think this year, but we are actively looking to integrate also or to acquire 1 or 2 farms on the Romanian market. I think it's a good time to look into this. There are many farmers in difficulties, let's say, so probably will come more farms on the market to buy acquisition, because it is all to do that by the end of 2027, beginning of 2028, we would like to reach a market capitalization of 100 million euros, which helps us for the future movement or upgrade to the main market of the Bucharest Stock Exchange. But for bonds at the moment, they are not part of our strategy, and it also on the short term, I don't think it's really an option for us.
So for those who just tuned in, AGRAR had last year one of the best performing shares on the market. Right now, the market cap is around 50 million euros. And by the end of 2027, the plan is for?
Our strategy by the end of 2027, beginning 2028, is to reach approximately 100 million euros of market capitalization. Yes, to double. Mainly that will come through a further increase of milk by the Apold farm, and of course the Deschiderea farm, and also our compost factory. Our first compost plant will come operational in the third quarter of this year. Normally we expected that more or less, if they all operate at full capacity, that it should be sufficient to reach its market capitalization. But as I mentioned earlier, we are also actively looking for 1 or 2 farms to integrate in those 3 years. And that should be more than sufficient to reach this market capitalization. Next to that, we are also working on a biogas plant, so that could also generate in the coming years extra income.
And by financing the operations with capital increase and of course with maybe in the future bond loans. Let's see about dividends. When we can discuss about dividends at the AGRAR.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I'm fully aware that dividends play an important role on the Romanian stock market. So far, we didn't do this, as we perceive ourselves as a growth company, and we also dedicate at the moment all our resources to this growth. I think if we look to the return on investment we gave to our shareholders, last year we had the share growth price of approximately 74%. Since we are only listed 2 years, that is a return of an increase we saw of 152%. So I think the returns are clearly there. Of course, we will constantly be in dialogue with our shareholders. And although we don't, if we really look to the management of the company, we don't see the need to become soon a dividend company, but we will not be deaf for this. If there is a clear wish from the market, we will listen to this, I think, and we will analyze then the options. But our strategy is based on to reach a market cap of 100 million euros. Of course, somehow dividends could also contribute to that. To reach a milk production of 300,000 liters per year and per day, and over 100 million liters on an annual basis. And that is where we currently all the investments. With those investments, we expect to reach this market cap, and not necessarily by the uses of dividends.
You've mentioned a possible transfer on the main market. How come?
No, we do the preparations. This year we finalized the SAP implementation. It's almost done. Currently we are implementing IFRS in our organization and in the ERP software. We need to see, of course, what are the consequences on all the results and figures, etc., of our company, and in case maybe some things we need to change or whatsoever. But we will analyze this year, and I hope our goal is to start next year. Somewhere next year, to start also to publish our results by the IFRS standards, so it's easier also for institutional investors to compare apples with apples and pears with pears, of course. We have already a lot of discussions with institutional investors. I'm confident when we will do a capital increase that a big part also of the money will come from there. But one clear wish is, or a requirement, I would say, is of course that you publish in IFRS. So that we are working on. It will not take 5 years, but I don't know. This year we will not do the upgrade, so maybe 2 or 3 years from now.
Peter, a couple more questions, if I may. Let's see, how many customers do you work with?
At the moment, we have 9 customers, and we are constantly trying to further diversify this, because it's a clear wish from investors. Although we are also limited in the options to diversify, there are only a few large milk processors in Romania, and how we work is we only sell full trucks. So the far majority of the milk processors, they can't process on a daily basis even one truck or two trucks. Their production capacity is too small for that. As well as we prefer to work with the largest milk processors in the country, because they are more predictable. They always pay on time. They have a shorter payment term. When you work with small processors, they only pay you one time per month, and then still there are many, based on our experience. Okay, maybe other farmers have different experiences, but based on our experience, we had many issues in the past when we had more diversified portfolio, that they pay on time, or they always try to find reasons not to pay or whatsoever, even if you have penalties in the contract. So it was really hard. So from a process point of view, and for a smooth cooperation, it's better to work with those multinational companies. But of course, we all the time look, because it is a clear request. So also from this year, we start further to diversify. But that has also somehow consequences. You get sometimes also a lower milk price from others, etc.
And the biggest client being?
Our largest client is Lactalis, but currently I think our milk they have a share of approximately 73% of the milk delivered.
Of the milk delivery, and in turnover of last year, what was the percent?
Yeah, that's what I'm sorry. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, 73%.
So 73% in money, in turnover.
Yeah, in turnover.
Isn't that a bit high for one client?
Yes, that was just to try to explain. At least, although we reduced, because before it was over 80%, so we further reduced this. But as I said, there are only 4 or 5 serious, or not maybe serious, but large scale milk processors in Romania, who can also process the quantities that we deliver. As I said, we try to eliminate the risk. Is that in the past we had always a fixed price for the whole year, but that could be risky in case the milk price really drops, like what we saw last year. Then probably a milk processor would choose to eliminate the contract and to pay the penalty. This is the reason we don't have a fixed price anymore. So we follow the market price. So if it goes good with the market, it goes well for both of us. And if the market price is small, we also follow the market. Through this, we never have the lowest price. Also, we never have the highest price. But more or less, by following the market, there aren't any risk. That would only mean the only risk remains is that the huge or significant decrease of milk consumption would be, but that's usually not the case. The milk consumption worldwide is growing, and it can vary sometimes. Okay, we have a 1 or 2% less consumption or whatsoever, but these are usually the percentage. So then a milk processor would only got a contract, okay, when you have milk consumption drops, I don't know, between 15 and 25%, and they really don't know where to go with the milk. But as I said, it is a clear request also from our investors, so we try to diversify, but we also do huge investments, which means we also need to receive a good milk price. We also need to have some predictability, not to end up, because how it works with many milk processors is not always that when you negotiate a contract and then you decide we start to work together, but many times through our experience is that the negotiation usually starts after signing of the contract, and it is a constant battle with. There are also risks, let's say.
Maybe in the next years, when you successfully complete your investments, we can see the AGRAR brand on our shelves, mega image shelves. Why not? Let's get a bottle of milk produced and sold by AGRAR. Why not? Peter, what is the livestock population at the end of last year?
The livestock population was approximately 14,500 animals, 14,400. recall correct. So there we had also quite an increase. And that will further increase throughout the year. I think by the end of this year, we will be close to 16,000 animals. As I mentioned already, 600 dairy cows in Strasje from September will produce milk. By the end of the year, 900. And of course, we will also, in the meantime, more cows will calve. So we will see a steady increase. And by the end of 2027, we will have approximately 20,000 animals.
20,000. Peter, two questions. The decline in cereal prices, does it help you or does it hinder you?
Now, yeah, generally to be said, of course, somehow it hinders us. I mean, at the moment we can't, our production costs are higher than the market prices. I think currently you can buy corn corrals, you can buy for 700 or 750 lei, while in our case the production costs are almost 1,000 lei. So of course that has a negative effect by the end of the day of the milk cost. But that is hard. You can't decide at the beginning of the year, because you only know by the end of the year usually the market prices. So you cannot decide at the beginning of the year, shall I buy this year from the market or shall I produce it myself? So that's of course you only know after the harvest. So that's problematic. On the other hand, now the reduction of the cereal prices, we bought 2,000 tons of or 2 million tons of corn corals from the market, and of course they will have a positive effect in the milk cost in the end, because that means a reduction. So in general, if we and normally we try. Also last year we bought a lot of extra food in the beginning of the year, and then we also had low prices. So it should mainly benefit us at the moment.
Subsidies this year, what is the value that the investor should expect, and if there are any new categories, let's say, added here, or any from the last year disappeared?
Yeah, no, in general about the subsidies, we expect that it stabilized, could be a little bit lower, although it is hard to predict at the moment, and it's still not announced. The subsidies per liter and per head of cow, although the budget is already approved in December, but APA struggles a lot, so we don't know. They are also, that is also the biggest part of the subsidies. We didn't receive anything from that yet, and we even don't know exactly the amount. But we expect that it will be more or less the same than this year. Sorry, yeah, 2024 will be more or less the same as 2023. It will be approximately 25 million. Still, of course, sorry, yeah,
lei.
Lei. So yeah, sorry, yeah, lei, yeah. Still, there are some new subsidies introduced, but somehow the legislation is not always ready for this. But also some will disappear, like the Ukraine subvention. Although I expect that something will come in return from it. Because we see the sector in general has a difficult, and especially the crop producing sector. As I mentioned already, no farmer at the moment can, all their production costs are higher than the market prices. For that we saw the demonstrations also on the streets, etc. In our case, we are a little bit more favorable because we can use the crop by the end of the day for our animals. But no, more or less on the subsidies, we don't expect large changes. Of course, we hope in the future that the reference date will change, because still for over 1,600 animals, we don't get subsidies at all. So that is almost the size of the complete food farm. So I think there shows again a part of our competitiveness, that even besides not obtaining for such a large amount of a group of animals, not receiving those subsidies, still we are a profitable company with a good profit margin.
This would be a great topic for our next discussion, Peter. But we will close here until we will see each other again. Congratulations on your performance, and congratulations for being on the radar for the investors. I've seen the feedback there, and it's great. Thank you very much, Peter De Boer, board member, investor relations, DN AGRAR. Peter, thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Have a nice day, and now I will switch to Romanian for the closing remarks. Până data viitoare, fii întins la investiții câștigătoare. Numai bine!
Știu ce spun.
Claus Iohannis se vede deja în fruntea NATO.
Intru în competiție pentru funcția de secretar general.
Vezi cum arată hainele lui de război.
Știu ce te interesează.
Primăria din București are candidați, dar cine-i votează?
Deci are balta pește?
Pește,
Are dacă
de
am...
fapt asta e. Uite,
Miroase urât.
ce vrei să insinuezi cu asta,
Da, eu
Alex?
nimic.
Știu cum să te fac curios.
Mizeria aia de brățară tip Scotch semnată Balenciaga.
Am o surpriză pentru tine, o brățară superbă.
Știu cum să te emoționezi.
Akira Toriyama, creatorul Dragon Ball, a murit la 68 de ani după ce a suferit o hemoragie în apropierea creierului.
Știu să conving.
Bomba la premiile Oscar. John Cena a făcut senzație în pielea goală.
A fost și asta foarte discutată. De ce toată lumea a râs? Dacă ar fi intrat o femeie goală, nu s-ar fi râs.
Nu mai putut gândi la nimic altceva. Ce mai stau eu să mă gândesc că râdă ăla sau ce face?
Știu să câștig.
În orice caz, suntem cu toții câștigați.
Știu, deci știi.